Hello and welcome to Dog Day Chess. In this episode we're going to step away from the game itself and look at some regular practice that we can do to help improve our chess. Specifically, I'm going to show you some exercises that you can do and recommend some tools for doing these exercises. But before we get into the exercises, I want to talk about proportioning your training to emphasize various aspects of the game. Now, as an intermediate player, all of the advice I've read or heard says that we should be spending a lot of time on tactics. So myself, I spend half of my training time on tactics, and the rest of it I spend almost evenly on strategic improvement, on the openings, on endgames, and on chess vision drills, and I'll explain what those are a little bit later on. So let's start with tactics. There are a lot of apps for the iPhone that you can use to train on tactics. In fact, I make a lot of use of the iPhone to help in my regular training, mainly because it's portable. I mean, if I have 5 minutes of spare time, perhaps if I'm waiting for the bus, then I can just take out my phone and work on puzzles. So this particular app called Chessimo has a lot of tactical puzzles that you can work through. In fact, Chessimo has a lot of puzzles for different areas of the games, so you'll see it come up again later on. There's another app called Chess Tactics, which also has a lot of puzzles, and this app is unique because the puzzles are created and submitted by the user community. So you'll sometimes see puzzles in there that are not what you typically find in a textbook. So it can be quite interesting. Shredder Chess is another app that has puzzles built in that you can work on. I've talked about that in a previous episode on the 7 circles. And I also use a program for the PC called ChessBase. I have a PGN file of mating patterns, and I work through that on a regular basis, trying to solve the pattern and hopefully trying to get more accustomed to identifying the pattern in real games. Moving on to strategic training, Chessimo has a component that lets you practice your strategy. And the way it works is it presents a position to you and it asks you to find the best move, and then ultimately it explains to you why a certain move is the best move for strategic reasons. There's another app called ChessU, which lets you download courses, and then you work through the courses, which are essentially games that you step through move by move, and at each move it explains the position and the merits of it, and it'll also from time to time stop and test you. It'll ask you what you think would be the best move, and then after you've given your answer, it'll explain why your answer was right or wrong. And finally, in the area of strategy, there's an app called e+chess books, which is essentially an e-reader that's specially designed for reading chess books. Now, if you've ever read a chess book, you'll know that often it'll have a diagram, and then it'll have a series of moves, and then another diagram, and if you want to see how those moves actually took place, you either have to try to visualize them in your mind or take out a board of your own and play through on the board. Now, this app does that for you. It's very convenient. As you step through the moves in the text, you see them being played out on the board on the right. So it's a very convenient way of reading through chess books. Moving on to openings, again, Chessimo has a component for helping you practice with your openings. It lets you play through openings, and it also explains to you the idea behind the opening so you can understand why certain moves were played and what your plan should be afterwards. And endgames are also something that you can practice using Chessimo. Again, they're essentially in the form of a position that's set up, and you need to play through and try to win the game. I also use a program for the PC called Fritz, where I'll set up different positions for elementary checkmates and make sure that I can actually do the checkmate against the computer. For example, checkmating a lone king with a bishop and a knight, which can be challenging, so it's something I need to review from time to time. Fritz also lets you practice some chess vision drills. Vision drills are exercising your eye to see certain weaknesses or potential on the board. For example, the attack training lets you identify which pieces can be taken. The defense training asks you to identify which pieces are not protected. And the check training asks you to pick out the pieces that can deliver check. So that pretty much sums up the regular training that I do. I try to work on these exercises on a daily basis, even if it's only 5 minutes a day. So I hope I've given you some ideas of what you can do to help keep your chess skills sharp. And as always, thanks for watching.